Alright, everybody, welcome back to Trackstars. We've had a couple of weeks off. I've headed up to Bathurst, Nick's headed off to the GP, and we've had Easter and we're back. It's been a pretty refreshing couple of weeks off, I think for myself, but as always, we are back streaming here for Trackstars for the Formula Series. And as always, I am joined by my good friend, long-term friend in Nick Patasso. Welcome, big buddy.
Yeah, g'day, Ryan. It's great to hear your voice. Hasn't been a little while since we last heard you on a Trackstar stream. It's been a while since we've actually been on here as we get ourselves underway for qualifying. Like you said, we've had a bit of a extended break from the Formula Series. A couple of weeks. First week was the Australian Grand Prix, which thankfully which was actually fortunate. I actually managed to attend. It was actually a very nice day out at Albert Park, and then last weekend was the Easter long weekend, so happy belated Easter to everybody. I hope everyone was sensible, drove safely, didn't drink too hard, didn't drink too much, didn't party too hard, but I think we're all adults now. I think we all party hard anyway, so I'm pretty sure we all had a great Easter, but now we're back into it straight away with some wet weather racing. So the forecast that was called out on Thursday, that was shown on Thursday, was predicted to be heavy rain, but as we saw just recently in the real world Formula 1, as they just finished up their race at Suzuka Circuit, turned out to be a dry race throughout the Formula 1 events. So a bit of what we can say here is what we could have seen in the real world Formula 1 is now we're bringing to life in the Trackstars Formula 3 and later on in the Formula Trackstar. So wet conditions, so the first time for all of these drivers here, Ryan, and we saw something very similar last year in last year's Trackstars Formula 3 where they actually ran heavy rain around this circuit, and the victors, I believe, was Ben Purton from MSR VL Racing. So a couple of experienced men like Robinson and HBR, they've both driven in the rain a few times, but some of the others I haven't seen before, so who knows, we might get some predictable qualifiers up towards the front. We might see a few surprises, we don't know yet.
Yeah, it's definitely been a while since we've seen some wet weather here at in F3 and TS3 as well. But yeah, as you said, Purton won that one, and he did win the Trackstars Formula 3 series last year. In saying that, I actually need to get around to sending the trophies out. I've just been pretty busy, so I haven't had a chance. But yeah, it's as we always do with the mixed weather races. We do announce it on Thursday, and as you said, unfortunately Thursday was yeah, pretty much torrential rain and thick clouds and stuff. But the other thing that we've done here for this year is the first slot is real world weather, and then the rest of the weather is random. So will these be completely wet? Will it dry up? That's the question. That's what we got to wait and see here. But obviously your fan favourite at the moment here is HBR and KH Lamb. So he's been pretty dominant recently. We've had Robinson have a good race, and then unfortunately gets caught up in a bit of incidents there. But the other thing is as well, the way that the wet weather system works, we've got, what I've noticed so far is Lamb is on intermediates, and you've got Robbo, and more than likely the rest of the grid are sitting on wets, except for Jacobs. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a bit interesting when it comes into that transition time, which for me looks like it's about now. So in this qualifying, we may see someone be able, if they can, get out onto a set of softs.
I don't know if we're going to see softs because it's only a 5-minute qualifying session, so I've only got about 2 minutes to go, so we won't see any soft runnings here. But those that are on intermediates could be the ones that would be looked at, especially. So we saw with HBR and Jacobs both on the intermediate tyres, and we can see that rain gauge on the left-hand side that is actually dipping below that first line before full bars. So usually when that's the case, that's when you start to get intermediate running. So as you start to go just over that and a little bit of darker blue clips, you do get a little bit. Oh, you saw something. You saw it.
Yeah, HBR just copped it. Then he ran onto where the ripple strip was, in between Degner 1 and 2, got a massive lot of water, and it just aquaplaned him straight onto the sand.
And you can see it there on the rain gauge, it's just literally just jostling, just jumping up and down between dark blue and light blue. So obviously HPR is definitely not going to get representative lap time. This is basically kind of like a one-shot qualifying here, Ryan, because there's only a 5-minute session, so wherever you finish is where you're going to start this race, and HPR's mistake could cost him, could actually put him back down the rear of the grid, or potentially towards the rear of the grid. So not looking bright for the 4 times winner so far in this Trackstars Formula 3 championship, with the other 2 victories going to Rob Jacobs in 6th place currently on this qualifying set. But as we can see here, 3 It's Racing Esports FR SF. Oh, sorry, not SF19. I was going to say SF19s, but we're actually in the Red Bull Juniors. So 3 of them on track tonight. So it's good to see some representative teams here from It's Racing FR. We see as well Robo Sport Racing running his own privateer. We see KPL in the mix as well, and obviously the driver in Jacobs. Yes, as Jacob Flag reaches out, only 1 shot qualifying, so who's got it right? Who's predicted this perfectly? Robinson's about to cross the line first. He's going to get himself into a 2-minute 31.4. Right behind there, Tubes gets into a 2-minute 30. We can see Bender's got the first man into the 2-minute 29s.
Oh, there you go.
Jacobs has actually gone through and he's smashed the entire field. 2-minute 19.7. So the gamble has paid off massively for Jacobs on that intermediate set. 2-minute 19, 7 seconds ahead of Gator. But as we see there, Rothman in KPL Bleeding Edge has just edged him out and has gone into P2. So like I said, Ryan, a mixed grid here, and a couple of surprises amongst this field.
Yeah, definitely. It's very surprising, but you know, as you said, take that gamble on the intermediate on that drying track. It definitely paid off there for Jacobs. It pretty much dropped off to middle bar. So yeah, it was definitely a massive gamble there, and it paid off. As you said, nearly 8 seconds. He was faster. So 2:19 in comparison to a 2:25, 2:27. So. Yeah, wow. But surprisingly as well, Bleeding Edge was on wets too, so he managed to jump in front. So,
and what I noticed as well, because the dry line was starting to form a little bit, we saw with Robinson, he was the first man across the line, and then everyone else behind him just found time. So we saw Nathaniel in previous lap time, Bendit found lap time, Liam found lap time, and then we just saw a blistering lap there with Jacobs, just under the 2-minute 20 barrier. But unfortunately, I think the biggest loser out of all of this is Lamb in 7th place. So the last time Victor out at Autopolis is down the order in 7th place. So he's got a lot of work to do in this race as we're about to get underway very shortly. So it's time to put our bets on here. Monopoly money, Ryan. Who have you got your safe bet on? Are you going to go for a safe bet? You're going to go for someone in the team, or are we going to go for a bit of an underdog?
I got to go for the team here. I got to be a bit of an underdog in the team. I'm going to chuck it on Liam in later Gator. So he's been a bit of a silent assassin here. With the team at the moment, but yeah, this is going to be a bit interesting with this little bit of changing weather and the pit stop as well, so see where they come out.
Absolutely, so we might potentially see a pit stop here for the first time in Trackstars Formula 3, but it's Jacobs versus Rothman, and it's lights out green flag racing on a damp Suzuka circuit for the opening race of the Formula season here at Japan. It's a great start by Rothman as he's going to go into P1, going into turn 1. Bendit has come out into P2. Jacobs third. So obviously the intermediate tyres is not really switching on at the moment, but like we saw in qualifying, as we see Robinson have a massive moment there on his end. He's dropped down all the way down to 6th place, down to 7th place, unfortunately. But as we saw there with Jacobs, he's the man that's running on the intermediate tyres, and he hasn't really worked out at the moment. He's just dropping down a little bit, just outside the top 3.
Yeah, he's sitting in 3rd at the moment. He's 6 tenths behind, but just keep an eye on Jacobs when this track does dry up slightly. So when it dries up, he bend it around the outside there on the run into Degner 1. What a move there from him. Hopefully he can keep this car in front, and then, you know, maybe we might see a bit of an undercut or something. But yeah, keep an eye on Jacobs, and also keep an eye on Lamb. So when this track starts to slightly dry up, you'll see these guys on the intermediates start to come through the field. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But Bendit, he's had a bit of a rough run lately with some penalties and coming together with Tube in the last race at Autopolis. Copped a, I think it was 15 or 30-second penalty for that one, and then the race beforehand as well. But Jacobs on the back here of Rothman.
He's getting so close there. So Rothman is just holding on to P2. You can just see they're slipping and sliding with Jacobs on the intermediate tyres. It's going to go for an inside move on Jacobs. Doesn't pull it through, unfortunately, but we see Rothman runs a little bit wide going through Spoon Curve. That opens up the door for Jacobs to come through, and he's going to slowly start to take P2 away from Rothman, and he does. So he's taken P2 away. So we have Jacobs in second, but leading the way is the It's Racing FR driver. Bendit in first, Jacob second, Rothman third, and Liam inside the top four. As we can see some progressions down the order there. We see HBR still stuck in sixth place at the moment, and Robinson, unfortunately, with a bit of an error on the exit of turn two, down in seventh and last place. But what a crazy start here. You throw in some wet weather, right, and you get a good mix of driving and good skills here amongst our competitors.
Yeah, well, honestly, I think we need to give these guys wet weather every race, because this is probably the best first probably lap in a bit that I've seen of F3 in a long time. So, but yeah, no, they're doing really well. But you can see here when we run on board with Bendit, that rain gauge is starting to drop slightly, and you can see that wet line really start to you know, how do you call it? You just get it less wet, essentially. But yeah, you can see Jacobs has closed that gap down from about 1.9 to nearly under a second. So this is where the intermediates are really going to come into play here.
Yeah, Tube's just made a nice move around the outside going onto the final corner there. So you can see Bender just sliding through the end. We're trying to control that. It's trying to hold his position ahead of Jacobs in P2. Charles Nathaniel in third place doing a really good job here. As I said, he's made a very nice outside move on his teammate in Liam, but HBR has now moved up into P4. As I saw there on the exit of 130R, we did see Rothman actually drop down the order, so he was up, it was from third to seventh, so one mistake through 130R cost him quite a fair bit. So unfortunately for him, he's down in seventh and last place, but a bit of work to do. But as we say here, we're on lap 2 of 9, and it's starting to dry up a little bit. So could we potentially see our first pit stops here in Trackstars Formula 3, Ryan?
I think we will. Not yet. Probably give it maybe lap 4, maybe 4, 5-ish, around that time period, because I don't think these boys on these wets are going to be able to keep an eye on, or keep the car on the circuit with the drying track. But here, Bendit's on the wets, Jacobs is on the intermediates. Bendit kept it around the outside there of 180R on the run into Spoon. So, wow, what a run here at the moment. But yeah,
Jacobs nearly got around the outside, but he's done a switchback move on Bendit. So they're going to go side by side as they go through 130R here. So it's all about who's brave, who can get the inside line as they go through 130R. Looks like Jacobs has just got a nose ahead of Bendit, so he should have the right of way going into 130R, and he does. Takes P1 away from Bendit. As we see, Bendit's just run a little bit wide there, so he's run off the circuit, and that's given HBR position 2. So Lamb from last to P2 in a matter of a couple of laps here. So great racing there, but unfortunate for Bendit, goes from first to third in 130R. Not the way he wanted to start out this race, as he was leading the first couple, but he's now got his occupied with his teammates in Liam and Charles Antonio. So we see our first of the pit stops here in Rothman from KPL Racing. He's going to come off those wet tyres. Looks like he's definitely going to try and put on the intermediates, because it doesn't look like it's dry enough for dry tyres yet.
Yeah, definitely. We'll wait and see what he puts on here, because we know sometimes the game does glitch out. No, he's put the softs on. He's taken the gamble and he's put the softs on. And
oh, that's not good. No, he's just spun it out in front of the pit lane, and he's just lost time. So he cut 3 seconds going into the pit lane, and now he's just got himself a 3 seconds coming out of the pit lane. What a disaster for Rothman there, after taking the lead in the early stages of this Grand Prix. But as we see there, the gauge is coming down very slowly. So, and the sun has actually come out, Ryan. So the sun is poking out of there from the thick clouds. So it's giving them, so the track is drying, and it's drying very fast here. So we could potentially see some drivers thinking about that soft tyre. So maybe they're looking at Rothman's, but they need to find that dry line. And coming around here is finding a dry line is very hard. As we see there, Jacobs still holding on to P1, Lamb in P2, Bendit rounding up the top 3. Unfortunately there for Rothman, drops all the way down to P7, and these days just goes from bad to worse with the 6 second hanging over his head, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. But you can really see these guys on the wets have dropped back. They're about 2.1 or so coming into Spoon. They're 3.7 behind. They're not really looking for that wet line, so they're not kind of really using that wet tire to the advantage. But yeah, I definitely I'd be coming into the pits if it was me. But I think when Bendit ran deep at 130R, he did get a tap from behind from his teammate in Nathaniel. So he was being courteous to the drivers in front, braked early, so he didn't run deep in there. But yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. But we'll just keep an eye on these guys here. Jacobs comes into the pits and Lamb goes again.
Oh, Lamb's going out for another lap, so he doesn't think it's time to change, as he's just set the fastest lap with a 2:15.9. That's exactly what he needed in qualifying to get up into pole position. But this is very crucial for Jacobs, because like we saw with Rothman, he came out of that pit lane spinning 360s on the exits of the pit lane, and we do know the exit of the pit lane is damp. So what happens here? He needs to be very, very careful on the throttle as he's coming out, and he's done that perfectly. Oh, he's just hold on. He's saved it. Oh wow, what a save there by Jacobs. He's lost a lot of time doing that, but that could have been a crucial moment in this race here. So he's coming up onto the S's for the first time on these soft tyres, and you can just see there the gauge is underneath that 3rd bar, and it's dry tyre time for the Formula 3 drivers. So the top 5 on those wets and intermediates are now going to be looking at Jacobs and thinking, how much time is he going to gain? And he's gone off, unfortunately, so that is just not worked off for him. Looks like he just must have clipped a bit of a wet patch there, as you see there on the action cameras. Yeah,
he did.
He has.
Yes.
That's so unlucky there for Jacobs, as it was just getting a little bit of broadcasting problems on my end. So luckily I've got myself a second camera here, but as you can see there, Jacobs is still stuck in 6th place, but yeah, just lost a lot of time on that wet patch, and that's definitely not the line you want to take. And he's done it again through the hairpin, and days just goes from bad to worse. So Jacobs down in 6th place, is not really using these soft tyres to his advantage, and we can see HBR maybe going that extra lap on those intermediates is definitely going to help him out trying to take victory in this sprint race here, Trackstars Formula 3, as he's about to come towards the chicane, Casio Triangle. Braking into the corners, does he go into the pit lane? I'm pretty sure it might be time to go, because that rain gauge is down, and yep, he's come into the pit lane now. So I wonder, did Jacobs come in too early, or do you think he made the right call, Ryan?
Look, for me, I think he made the right call, but unfortunately, he just made that mistake coming out pit exit. But we got Nathaniel and Robinson going again. Ooh, this might be interesting. The question is, with
Jacob spun off again. Just sorry to catch you up there, Ryan. Jacob has spun off there through 130R, and he's just cost himself. He got himself some front splitter damage, and that's cost him any chances of getting victory here in the sprint race. So lots to learn for the feature race coming up. As we can see there, just runs it wide. And yeah, just unfortunately gets on the gas too much, loops it, and unfortunately for him, hasn't worked. As we see some yellow flag on the pit straight here.
Nearly every car.
Oh, we can see contact! Contact was made between Liam and Rothman down into turn 1. Both Liam and Nathaniel were trying to get out, not Nathaniel, apologise, Bendit were coming out of the pit lane, but they got caught on the wet strip, and they just looped it coming out of the pit lane, as we'll see if you can find a replay for yourself there.
Did get it on the replay there, just played it there. But yeah, wow, that was massive there. But wow, that's that wet patch on the exit of the pit lane has really caught the drivers out, because we had Liam get a 3-second penalty, we had Bendit get a 3-second penalty, and we had Liam get a 3-second penalty as well. So they all got caught out by that, and Liam as well was just spun too. So these guys are really struggling with this transition. They're not keeping to that dry line. So
No.
yeah, they wow, that's massive there. But with 4.5 laps to go here, we got Nathaniel and Robbo still on the wets, and then we've got Lamb on the softs. So the question is, do they have enough buffer to keep Lamb behind them? If anything, they have a very big gap between Lamb and Jacobs.
You have to remember as well, Lamb has to serve a penalty. He's serving 3 seconds down this back straight as he's coming up to the penalty line right now. It's all in Nathaniel and Robinson's hands to try and protect themselves, to keep that P1 and P2. But he's gone back up to speed now, has Lamb, as they're both coming into the pit lane. Now it's time to go. Lap 5 of 9, entering lap 6. Who's going to come out on top as we go, as we see Lamb coming through the Castillo Triangle right now. Nice and smooth, catches a little bit of a wet patch there. Just goes a little bit tentative on the throttle there, but as we see the rest of the drivers coming into the pit lane, we see Nathaniel getting service right now, Robinson right now. HBR in Lamb's come through, Nathaniel's come out of the pit lane. He's gonna try and keep that position, he needs to keep it within the white lines, but Lamb's got the speed, he's got the advantage, and takes P1 away from Nathaniel and Robinson, so very unlucky there. Very luckily for Lamb to actually keep that, to come out into P1 after that 3-second penalty. But well done to both Nathaniel and Robinson, running that little bit of an overcut strategy, maybe running on those tyres a little bit too long, but I think the crucial thing for them was track position.
Yeah, definitely that track position has paid off for them, but you know, I think the wet pit exit and how long that pit exit line really hindered them there, because they couldn't get back over onto the dry line as probably as fast as what they wanted to, or you know, what yourself or myself would want. So you know, it's definitely definitely an interesting one here with these guys. But the question is as well, we are running random weather, so with three and a half laps to go, you know, I'm kind of hoping for a little bit of a late downpour on, say, a lap or two to go. So it might really spice things up here. But yeah, the overcut really worked there for Robinson. Obviously, he didn't have the best of starts, dropped down the order, and now he's found himself up in P3, about to hopefully stand on the podium for this one and have a good start for the feature race.
Yeah, it was a great race for Robinson. Last time out at a topless for the Pacific Grand Prix, ran as high as first place in that sprint race. We saw an absolute classic amongst 5 of the competitors. They were battling for the lead. At one point, the top 5 were only separated by about 3 seconds amongst them. So some great racing from all of the drivers in that field at topless. But now we potentially might be able to see Robinson get himself back onto the podium, but it's still only 3 laps to go here as we finish lap 6 of 9, about to enter lap 7 of 9. As we go through the order, it is Lamb starting from last position, didn't get the qualifying that he wanted, and is up into P1 with setting the fastest lap there with 2 minutes 6.7. Right behind there with a great strategy is Charles Nathaniel for It's Racing FR, the first of the It's Racing FR Red Bull Juniors in second place. Robinson for his own team in Robbo Sport Racing in third place, rounding up that podium. And right behind is Jacobs for MSR Racing in fourth place. And then we have Rothman for KPL in fifth place. It looks like he made a mistake on that last lap as well, 2 minute 20. So not the consistency that he wanted after leading the early stages of the sprint race in fifth place. And then unfortunately, the biggest losers, you could say, out of all of them, I believe especially, is the man in sixth place in Bendit, Car 99. Unfortunately for him, he was looking to have a really good run this time out in this race, in this sprint race. Unfortunately for him, down in sixth place, followed by his teammate in Liam in seventh and last place. So 7 drivers here tonight, and it's all being led by the man that's won 4 out of 6 rounds here, 4 out of 6 races rather, in this championship, led by the Malaysian, the fast Malaysian in Lamb first.
Yeah, he's definitely made that pit stop work there, but yeah, doing a solid job there. You know, that pit exit really hindered there for Rothman, for Bendit and for Liam. So really unfortunate, but I guess we'll wait and see on what the rest of the race brings, and here race 2 for this one. Obviously they will have I think it's 13 laps for this one, for the next one, so it's going to be interesting. The question is, will HBR be able to go 2 race wins from 2 here and get the clean sweep there? But he's doing pretty well here at the moment. Fastest lap with a 2:06.7, but he's doing very well. But from what I see here as well, and from practice that I've done, he's got to be really careful running on those ripple strips, because there is patchy water, and that line there, he ran really close to the wall, and that was a massive wet patch, so that was risky as anything. So you've got to be really careful with that, because you catch a little bit of a wet patch and you can kiss your race goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's very well spread out now amongst the field here. Probably the only close contenders is Robinson, slowly catching Nathaniel in second place, but both setting some good lap times in that last one. We had Nathaniel setting a 2:08.8 and Robinson versus a 2:08.3, so very matched paces that they have amongst second and third. But right behind is Jacob setting a faster lap than those two at 2:06.4, with the fastest lap going to Lamb in first place. So could be a very close end to this one, with just under 2 laps to go here between Nathaniel and Robinson. I don't think we're going to see Jacobs closing that pack up anytime soon, so he might have to consolidate 4th place for the sprint race and really think about trying to execute that rain stint in the feature race coming up very shortly. And unfortunately for Rothman, down in 5th place, setting his fastest lap as well, 2:08.8. So as we start winding down here, everyone's starting to set their best laps as they start getting used to these soft tyres now. But I guess in a way, as we know, Ryan, we know the man very well. No, how can you stop Lamb? Honestly, he's just a man of speed, a man of pure talent. So he's gonna get some pressure from somebody very soon. But how soon, we don't know yet.
Yeah, definitely. He's very quick, and I was very shocked when he did sign up for F3. So, he's running really well here, and if he keeps it up, he will probably be the F3 champion, which then means he'll need to move up into back to TS2 where he was. So, but he's doing a solid job here in his little cherry red Red Bull Junior, as we know Lamb for running in that cherry red car. As yourself have approached him, we've approached him, a lot of people have approached him, but he just wants to run as a privateer, and just where he's running there, again, he runs at real risk of spinning out by running on that wet line. So he's got to be careful doing that, because the rain bar did go above the first into the second, which when it goes there, you have zero grip on the slicks. So yeah, he's running that risk, but he's got that gap out to over 10 seconds, so he's pretty quick here with the 2:04.6. What have we got next? I think it's Robbo, only 2:05. So 2:04.6 in comparison to a 2:05.6. So second faster, but question is, can Robbo close the gap here to Nathaniel? And
I was just about to say as well, he's really closing that gap with Robinson over Charles Nathaniel. So the battle for P2 is kicking off here. 1.4 separates them as they're exiting the S's, coming up through Dunlop Corner through to the Degners for the last time here in the sprint race, coming through Degner 1. Very tricky to try and clip that apex, where Robert just runs it wide. He's onto the green AstroTurf, but just saves it. So that's definitely going to cost him a little bit of time here. He's just dropped out, he's eked out a little bit to 2.6 seconds now. So he's got a lot of work to do in the second and third sector here at Suzuka if he's going to have any chance of getting onto the podium or getting higher up onto the podium ahead of Nathaniel in second place. But HBR is running away 11.3. But the battle resumes before P2 and P3. So close amongst them. Anything can happen amongst these two drivers here, but a few more corners to go. Can Robinson find any little bit of extra pace? Can he find something in him to close that gap? He's closing that gap a little bit. He's just run a little bit wide, but he's not been able to hold that enough. As we cut back to Lamb for the last time, coming through Casio for the final time here in the sprint race, as he executes the last couple of corners here around the final corner, takes victory in the sprint race. His momentum continues. 5 out of 7 for the man from Malaysia, takes victory and the fastest lap on that last lap. So well done to the flying Malaysian in Lamb. Standing in second place goes to the ITS-FR driver, his first step onto the podium in Trackstar Formula 3 for season 2024. Charles Nathaniel takes P2, Robinson takes P3. So great great result there for Nathaniel in P2. Jacobs rounds up in 4th place. What could have been for the man that was leading in the early stints in that wet condition. And down in 5th place is Rothman in car number 23, leading the early stages of that race as well, leading that opening lap, and then lost out to Jacobs. And then we have Bender, who did set the fastest lap, but that got taken away by Lamb on the final lap, down in 6th place. But setting some good consistencies there, consistent laps there with the 2-minute 4s. And then right down the rear of the field in 7th and last place, we'll go to Liam, car 28, rounding up our 7-man grid here at Trackstars Formula 3. So, my goodness, Ryan, if we see a lot of chaos here in this sprint race, imagine what the feature race is going to be like very soon.
Yeah, it's going to be spicy, I think, and I'm waiting to see, or I'm thinking to myself, if someone can get that undercut done, that's going to be absolutely massive, if it actually can pay off for them. So, yeah, it's going to be a big one if they can hold the pit exit, because it is very, very slippery, as we saw. Nearly every car in the grid did manage to lose it on the pit exit. So yeah, that was a massive one. But then we have here Liam taking the win in his cherry red car, cherry red race suit, and cherry red helmet. We should nickname him
Skipped
Mr.
the whole lot.
Yeah, we should nickname him Mr. Cherry Red.
Cherry, you're right.
Yeah, no, he's done a solid job there. But yeah, looks like it's bucketed down again here. So, but in the meantime, I think we'll take a little bit of a break, and we shall be back very shortly with the feature race here for round 4 of Trackstars Formula 3, live from Japan at Suzuka. Alright, ladies and gents, we're back, and because I don't have any wet tyres on my Red Bull Junior, we're going to get here Mr. Nick Patasso jumping on the hot lap. So here you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Nick Patasso, go ahead, man, and put us through a lap of this wet Suzuka circuit.
Yeah, I could tell straight away. At least I could tell from here. The rain has actually stopped quite early, actually. It's in the 3-minute mark, so something a little bit different. It stopped raining, but the conditions are still tricky here. As Suzuka's be coming through the S as we start drifting our way out. Big wet patch there. So drivers have to be very careful, especially if they're running on those intermediates. So even on intermediates, you can have a little bit of troubles with the heavy damp patches. Coming through Deckner 1, very tricky corner. Got to try and break it a little bit early. Try and just kiss the curb. Don't hop over it too much, unlike we saw with Robbo. Take too much of it, you do end up running wide onto that green Astro. It's unfortunate for him. That potentially could have cost him P2 in the sprint race. So he's got a lot of work to do to try and see if he can get himself up. Back the order. Then as we come up to the hairpin,
You name it, the
really
Venti
just trying to take.
hairpin, that one.
Yeah, that's right. We go up with our good friend in Venti. It's the Venti hairpin that he can't get right in a Honda NSX road car. So, and it's been since the game release in 2022 that he hasn't passed that level yet, that license.
Yep.
And then coming up through the spoon curve here, running in the car really wide, and there's actually something that drivers need to also take into consideration as well. As it does become wet, the wide line actually becomes very grippy with these tires. So you do see it in real world racing that taking the wide line, which is what they call the go-kart line, is actually a little bit faster. Because if you just take the normal racing line, it does get a little bit slippery. So that's why when you see real world drivers going a lot quicker on the alternate line, as we saw famously with the likes of Michael Schumacher, and then recently in our supercars in Shane van Gisbergen, who are known to be maestros of the wet weather racing, they always just found a way to get themselves around a wet weather circuit, wet weather conditions, and that's why they always became the name the wet weather master. So they were very good at it, and it's a very handy skill to have in both, sim racing, and then obviously if that will transpire into the real world as well, if one day people decide to go into real world racing.
Yeah, definitely there. But no, that was a pretty sort of lap there from you. A little bit sketchy at some parts, but that was because of the bit of wet weather and probably the inexperience in driving this in the wet. But yeah, that really dried up pretty quickly. So that's a bit.
So we'll see what the strategy is amongst our drivers here. But as we get ready, let's throw our monies down again. Let's throw our we could say our legal monopoly money tender. So we can have to see who's going to put our monies on for the feature race. 17 laps around here as well, Ryan. So double the distance for our F3 drivers. We did see HBR have a little bit of a tricky start in that wet weather conditions. Jacobs really capitalised. So did Rothman. But who's got the long distance for this one?
I think from the front row we're gonna have HBR pull this one off again. He's gonna manage to pull something out of the hat, but we'll wait and see. But double the distance, as you said, probably just shy of one lap of double. But yeah, the question is, will we see some late rain too? That'd be interesting to spice it up, see if we might get a bit of an undercut or an overcut or something like that. But yeah, that'd be an interesting one here. But lining up for race 2.
Absolutely. So the last race here in the Trackstars Formula 3, kicking off what's going to be a wet Suzuka circuit for the Formula Trackstars coming up very shortly. It is Lamb in first, Nathaniel in P2, Robertson right behind, and Jacobs down in 4th place. So we have those 5 lights, and we are underway. Green flag racing. So great launch there by Nathaniel, going from P2 into P1 as he comes up into turn 1. Very nicely there. Jacobs as well has got a good launch from 4th place. So that inside line working very nicely for those two drivers. Jacobs slots behind Lamb. A little bit of bumping and a little bit of argy-bargy amongst the competitors here, but I will say, Ryan, if you throw in some wet weather running, all the drivers are very cautious and are very clean in making decisions. So well done. Props to the F3 drivers for putting on a great display of sportsmanship in those opening sequence of corners. But it is Nathaniel up in first, Lamb in second, Jacobs in third place. Robinson's gone from third to fifth. Bendit's the one on the charge here so far. He's actually on the intermediate tyres as well as the top four. One of the first driver is actually Robinson on the wets, so maybe not the decision that he wanted to have. Bender just pushing his way through to P3. He's a man on the charge. He wants to redeem himself after what was not a great sprint race, and now he's here for the long haul in this feature race here. But as they come through Sector 2 for the first time here on lap 1 of 17, Nathaniel, for the first time in 2024, leads an F3 race.
Yeah, he's doing really well here at the moment, and I think the drivers really kind of paid attention to the intermediate tyre. As you said to yourself, you had the top four on intermediate here, so I think this is really going to, you know, spice things up a little bit. You know, will Nathaniel be able to run that extra lap there? He did it on the wets, and he lost a lot of time there to Lamb, but with this one here, if he runs the extra lap or two on the intermediates, they're really going to kind of pay dividends to him here. But Bendit, biggest mover at the moment here in the feature race, from sixth on the grid up into third place here. So I think he's really come to play with this these intermediate tyres. So, you know, he's wanting a good result. He hasn't really had the best of run so far at the moment. Or we see Liam run a little bit wide there on the exit of Spoon, and we have Rothman here really far down the order. So something really must have happened
on the opening lap there. Unfortunately, I think he may have run wide through the S's from what we saw there, but as they're coming through 130R for the first time, very tentative here. You can see that rain gauge is still quite heavy, so those on the intermediate tyres might not be favouring, as we see Nathaniel go very deep through Casio, but he still holds on to P1. As we can see, HBR gets all squarely there, and he just saves it. What a brilliant save there by Lamb to keep that P2. It was facing the gravel trap at one point, but it manages to keep it on the tarmac. Still keeps P2, and right behind there, behind HBR, we have Bender trying to fend off from Jacobs. Robinson not too far behind as well, so this will work in favour of both Robinson and Liam, who are the only drivers on the wet weather tyres. So it can work for them in this opening sequence of a couple of laps here, but at the same time, that weather is going, that patch of rain is going to dry up very quickly, and they're going to be getting into the pit lane very shortly. As we can see, HBR has now taken the lead away from Charles Nathaniel, so it looks like he made a mistake going into turn one, and unfortunately for him, he surrenders the lead to HBR. So that one lap of leading the Grand Prix in your feature race for the first time in 2024 has just been taken away by Lamb, who now leads this feature race.
Yeah, he's made a bit of a mistake. He ran wide into turn two there, got on the ripple strip on the green stuff, and it held him out there, as we all know what this green stuff, patchy stuff does. So the move so far at the moment, Liam hasn't really kind of pulled a gap as of yet. So we can see that track slightly starting to dry up. So it's going to be an interesting on what lap they're going to pit, because from how dry it is, it looks like they may be...
Oh, contact made between Bendit and Jacobs. Jacobs just holds onto it very nicely caught there by Jacobs through the hairpin. A little bit of contact was made between the couple of drivers there, but that's actually helped Jacobs trying to make a move on Nathaniel. He's going around the outside of 180R, going into Spoon Curve. This is very sketchy on lap 2 of 17. What does Jacobs do? He's just going to back off a little bit. Great racing amongst them so far. But look at this, Ryan. The top six, well within a picture frame here. 3 seconds amongst each other. That shows you how competitive this Formula 3 championship is. And you throw in some wet weather racing, it just becomes even better.
Yeah, they're doing really well here at the moment. As I said earlier, it's probably the best that we've seen them so far. Jacobs up the inside of 130R on James Nathaniel there. Gets it done too. Solid driving there. Mate, these are as I said, this is the best driving that I've seen from these F3 boys so far, and just so happens to be in the wet too. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting here. Will we see anyone come into the pits to try and do a bit of an undercut here?
Don't think we'll see anybody yet there, so we can see Bendit. Robbo, just kisses the grass there. He just almost went off there. Same with Bendit. They're just really trying to find a little bit of a wet patch But down in 5th place, we can see Liam trying to go for that P5 move on Robinson. Thinks about a move into turn 1. Robbo gives the space there, but unfortunately Liam just backs out of it. He's not confident enough on those Red Bull Junior brakes to pull a move on Robinson. They will stay into P6 for the meantime. Robinson holds on to P5. But what a move there. Jacobs has been showing off some really nice moves there through 130R in this Grand Prix. And he's been doing a really good job there. So we see Rothman come into the pit lane. I wonder if he's going to do something similar to what he did in the sprint race. Maybe just jump on those soft tires and maybe just try something different. It was 34 seconds behind Liam. So, I mean, try something. If it works, it works. It can pay dividends in the long run, but we'll wait and see very shortly as he does come out of the pit lane
wetness
on soft tires.
Yeah, the wetness, it looks like he's got it better this time. He does. So 50 seconds behind Liam, 54 seconds behind the leader. So we'll wait and see on how small that gap is by the end of this lap, as he has come out on the racing softs here. So the question is, will people run another lap on the intermediates? Because as we can see, the water bar is still hovering around that first 33%-ish percentile mark there. That does give you a little bit of a barrier between your intermediates and your wets, so your dries. So the question is, will we see anyone do it, and how far up will Rothman use those softs to his advantage and get up on the grid? That's the question. But he may be a little bit cautious, obviously, because of what happened in the last race. But yeah, so far, wait and see, because we can see that lap time come down 11.5 seconds purple. Jacobs is, so that track is really starting to dry up. So I'll jump on board here with Lamb to see if he does come into the pits or if he does run another lap on those intermediates. As he comes through the final corner, he does run again.
Out. So he stays out, Jacob stays out, Nathaniel stays out. Looks like everyone's staying out for one more lap. No one's confident yet, but we will keep an eye on Rothman's time here. He's down in P7, so as we saw, 54 seconds behind HBR. Still roughly about there, 54 seconds, but we'll see if that time starts to come down within the next sequence of corners. He's dropped that gap down to Liam massively, so we'll see if he actually drops that time down between himself and HBR. And maybe he could have pulled off a really good strategy pitting very early, but I don't know if it's going to help him close that gap up into P6, but we'll see. The gap between Lamb and Jacobs is only 1.4 seconds. They're hovering around that time barrier as well, as Jacobs goes purple through Sector 1 as well. So does Nathaniel, so does a couple of drivers behind. These guys are finding a lot of time here. In the top 4, we can say, yeah, top 4 separate just under 5 seconds. Robinson about 7 seconds behind Lamb. These guys are very, very close to each other, very competitive.
Oh, bend it!
Each other's.
Oh my, he went real sketchy sideways there through Degner 2. That was massive. That was a massive moment there for him. He was caught the edge of the ripple strip, made a little bit of a wet patch and sent him sideways. So he was lucky not to spin.
Very nicely caught there, Ryan, on that. And as I go back to the gap between Rothman and Liam, unfortunately for Rothman, he did make a mistake there. I just caught it on the secondary camera that, yeah, he looks like he just ran wide at 130R, picked up damage, front right suspension and rear damage as well. So that's definitely cost him just a little bit on the wet patch. And unfortunately for him, that's potentially his race over for this feature race here for round 4 of the Trackstars Formula 3. But we go back up to the front. The drivers ahead are still setting purple lap times here, but now comes the crucial moment. Who comes into the pit lane on lap 4 of 17? Will Lamb be the first? Will Jacobs be the first? Will someone go out for an extra lap? I think we're at that critical mark now, Ryan, as that bar is down, as they say in the old Coles advertisement. That we have HBR in first, Jacobs second, all in the pit lane. Oh, Daniel looks like he's just crossed the line there. Bentett's going for another lap. What do we see in Robinson? Robinson's going for another lap. He's trying to find that wet patch on the inside, working very nicely for him, just trying to keep those tires cool, trying not to overheat those wet weather tires as he's running since lap 1. As we see with our drivers, no one actually jumped into the pit lane. Oh, as we can see, HBR getting very taily on the exit of the pit lane. And we can see Jacobs actually caught up very nicely there. So he's actually gained 6 tenths out of that pit lane and really close up on HBR. So this is a great, that was a great pit stop for Jacobson. Really close up on Lamb, and he's right on his tail there. HBR hasn't got those tyres up to temperature, but you can't make any moves here, Ryan. It's single file at the moment because there are so many wet patches. You don't dare take risk.
Yeah, not only that, being Suzuka, there's not really many opportunities to pass. Essentially, what do you got? You got turn 1, turn 2, into the hairpin, and then down through 130R into the Casio Triangle. So, you know, you've only got essentially, you know, 4 spots to make a move here. As Jacobs gets a good run out of Degner 2 here. Will he make the move on Lamb into the hairpin? That's the question. Or tries to make Lamb run deep, but unfortunately couldn't do that. That's really sketchy there with that that dry and wet line, but loses a massive amount of time there. He was within a tenth and a half, and now he's nearly 8 tenths down. So yeah, wow, that's
he caught the curb there on the exit. So, and unfortunately, we've got a retirement from Rothman. Unfortunately, he's just Dave went from bad to worse. Did set the fastest lap there with a 2-minute 11.4. So he did show the soft tires were the way to go. But unfortunately for him, his day just came to an end. The KPL boys have called him into the pit lane. Retired car 23. It's not a good sign to see a car retired there. So he's out, unfortunately. But Jacobs is right in this contention here. As he saw there, closed that gap to Lamb in P3. But unfortunately, they just made a big mistake on the exit of the hairpin. Just caught on that. Got caught on the ripple strip, and that just lost him half a second there, unfortunately. So what do we see here? Robinson coming into the pit lane, looks like it. Yeah, he's coming to the pit lane right now. Bendit staying out for another lap here as well, Ryan. So very interesting. And we can see here the gap between Bendit and Lamb is only just hovering over 8 seconds. Jacobs is still right on the tail of Lamb in position 3. Charles Nathaniel, I think, definitely have to give praise to Nathaniel here. In car 589. What a performance that this man has put in. Very quiet season in the Trackstars Formula 3 Championship, but he's made this wet weather running and this race his own, and he's holding on very nicely, potentially for what could potentially be another podium for the man in the It's Racing FR garage. So far, leading the way ahead of his more experienced teammates, you could say, in Bendit and Liam, who's running in 1st and 5th respectively.
Yeah, definitely. Because for me, I would expect Bendit to be pitting probably this lap, because unfortunately, I think those intermediates are now time to be put to bed. I think it's time for softs. So if that's the case, if James Nathaniel can keep it there, he will be on for a P3 with the time advantage there. But you can see him go 2.6 seconds purple through sector. I think that's sector 3. So yeah, it's definitely a time for the intermediates to be put away. So yeah, he's going to be on for his best performance here as of yet. So the question is, will he get a P2 or a P3? Obviously, because Robinson is down in P6. So yeah, I think you know, where Jacobs finished behind him too. So yeah, it's going to be very tight up the pointy end here. But you know, my prediction is probably Lamb's going to get this overall win. You know, touch wood, he doesn't make any mistakes or run into a wet line. But yeah, it's looking good so far for probably a P2 or P3 for James Nathaniel to be his first of the series, and I think probably his best result so far.
Yeah, absolutely. You can now see finally Bendit's come into the pit lane, getting rid of those intermediates. 1 lap too long, unfortunately, for the man in car 99. Finally into the pit lane, as we see now officially leading the race here on lap 7 of 17 is Lamb in 1st. Then we have Jacobs just over 2 seconds behind the race leader in position 2. Charles Nathaniel rolling up inside the top 3, and then Bennett's now exiting the pit lane. Definitely going to be going onto those soft tyres now, but it's all about that pit exit. Still very wet there. You can see on the gauge when he comes out of it, it's just so slippery, but he's just hold on very nicely. Still holds on to P4, well clear of his teammate in Liam. And unfortunately for Robinson, didn't really have a very good in-lap, and unfortunately spun on the exit of the Suzuka circuit pit exit, so that cost him a 3-second penalty next to his name. So not the race to remember for Robinson in this one, but he's going to try his best to try and close up as much as he can towards Liam and potentially Bender towards the later half of this race. But our top 3 remains the same.
HBR, Jacobs, and Nathaniel, but it looks like Jacobs just closed up a little bit on HBR. Maybe just those tyres are starting to phase in a little bit. These drivers are trying to get their head around these dry track, and who knows? We could have a great battle amongst our hands here if no mistakes are made.
Yeah, it would be spicy if that's the case, but I don't know if Jacobs would be able to have that as fast lap times as what HBR is, but you know, don't count out anyone as they always say. But yeah, doing a solid job here. Lap 7 of 17 here. It is probably one of the longer races for these F3 drivers at Suzuka. For them, you know, you'll be running around probably a 35-ish minute lap, so 35-ish minute race. So yeah, it's going long for these guys, but Jacobs lost a lot of time there through 130R, so that's a bit confusing as to what happened there. And you know, time's just breaking out again. Over 3 seconds now to Lamb through Casio Triangle. Lamb looks like he's really strong towards the end part of the lap, through down that back straight, through Spoon, through 130R, and down through the triangle. So yeah, they're doing a solid job here at the moment.
He did set a personal lap there with 2:05.6, but compare that to Lamb's 2:04.9. Yeah, you can definitely see he's just got a little bit of an edge there. Oh, gets very twitchy there. Does Jacobs on the exit of turn 2. But the gap's still undulating between going up and down amongst these two drivers. So they're really just throwing their cars where they can and where they can really find that dry line, because at some parts of the circuit, Jacobs is a little bit quicker. We can see Lamb through the last section of the track that we normally see. He's very quick through the back end of the Suzuka circuit. So it just all depends on where these guys place their cars, because so far they're matching each other through every corner so far, and it's looking really nice. As we can see there, HBR just looks like he's got a much better run through Decna 2, and that gap just went straight up to just over 2 tenths between himself and Jacobs down in P2. So, and even there through the hairpin, he just gained a heap of time as well on Jacobs, did HBR. So a lot of things happening going on along here. So a couple of battle packs here. That we've got the battle pack for first, and then we've also got a nice little battle pack brewing for P3 with Nathaniel and Bender, the two It's Racing FR teammates, are looking to duke it out in the last few laps of this race for the battle of the third position here at Suzuka Circuit. And then we have Liam down in 5th place. So it's FR rather, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and Robinson still not getting too much time. He's losing more time. Is that last lap that he set was a 2:12. So again, more mistakes creeping up on Robinson's behalf, unfortunately. Just definitely not the race that he wanted to go in this feature race. So lap 9 of 17, the gaps, like I said, it's chopping and changing, Ryan. They're trading lap times amongst each other. HBR still definitely got the edge over Jacobs, but they're keeping each other company, you could say.
Yeah, definitely. Bender. He just missed fastest lap by 0.001. Oh, that's mean.
Wow.
I caught a purple sector there through as he was coming up to 130R. So yeah, I was just kind of keeping an eye on him there. But yeah, 204.909. So yeah, 0.001 behind HBR. So Bender's definitely got the pace here, and he's closing the gap there to James Nathaniel as well. Just over 2 seconds through this first section of the Suzuka circuit. What they actually call the East course, if you do run, because they do hook a right there and go back onto the main straight. So they can run a couple of different layouts here, but we are using the full layout of this one. Thought I got a bit of a mistake there, but it was just a puddle. But yeah, they're doing well so far, these boys here in these little battle packs. Jacobs isn't really letting Lamb kind of go too much too quickly, so that's probably a good thing for him there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not letting him go. That gap's dropped massively, 1.3 now between Nathaniel and Bender for the battle for P3. So very close amongst those two, just like it is close up towards the front there. So it's still finding themselves some extra time. Sorry, Jacob's still trying to find some extra time that he can find over over HBR in first place. So he's still trying to figure out where can I gain and where am I losing time? How can I get closer to him? Because he's gaining time and then he's losing, then he's gaining again. As we see, HBR sets another fastest lap, 2:04.3, but Jacobs actually goes faster on that one, 2:04.2. So he is gaining time. He is finding a little bit more confidence in this car, a little bit more confidence in himself. But lap 10 of 17, 8 laps to go in this Grand Prix here. These guys are just a class above, and these guys are really putting on a good show for us here tonight about, pace and consistency and trying to match each other throughout all the sectors here at Suzuka.
Yeah, definitely. They're doing the job.
Oh, actually, I'm
Jacobs
sorry.
nearly lost it.
Oh, what a save that was. They almost lost it there. So back up to 4.2, but he doesn't want to reminisce that. He doesn't want to see that ever again after what he said a fastest lap of 2:04.2. Unfortunately, it just did not work out for him whatsoever, and he's still fighting the car through Deckner 1. So just going to shake off the cobwebs, son, and you're going to try again. Try and see how much you can close up on Lamb in P1, but what a save there by Jacobs. And as we go back to our battle pack, we can see there for third place, Bendit has actually finally made the move on his teammate, on Nathaniel, for position 3. So Bendit up into the podium's positioning, which I think actually could be the first time we actually see Bendit on the podium here in the Formula 3 Championship. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, we'll have to look back through the results there, but I don't think we've actually seen Bendit on the podium. So touch wood, with 7.5 laps to go, he might be able to score his first podium here in 2024.
Yeah, he's doing a really good recovery drive here, doing a 2:05.4. So that was his slower lap there, but yeah, overtook his teammate, and yeah, he's doing a good recovery drive there. I don't think he'll be able to catch Jacobs. I think 16 seconds is a bit too far in front, but yeah, they're doing not too bad of a job here. So.
Well, he's got pace to burn. I think that's the key thing for Bendit. He's got pace to burn, so he might not be able to catch him, but he's going to show the top two why he should have been up there, up towards the pecking order. So unfortunately for him, that 1 lap extra on the intermediate tyres definitely cost him the potential of victory and the potential of winning or getting himself closer to the battle pack for first and second place. So unfortunately for Bendit, that was a little bit too much of a gamble, and it's not really worked out for him. So you see HBR setting another fastest lap there, 2:03, the first man into the 2:03s, 0.835 for the Malaysian. And Jacobs, as we know, had that massive that little snap oversteer, that little drift through one of the S's there, so it's a 2:05.5. So HBR still fighting all that time there. Bendit's still got time to burn. His last lap was his fastest at 2:04.7. Got a little bit more time to find. He's going to try and find something. As we know Bendit very well here, Ryan. He's a very fast driver, very competitive driver. He's just got a lot of emotions. He's got a lot of confidence in him that he knows that he can be fighting up the front in this F3 Championship, but just a lot of mistakes, a little bit of hot-headedness building up on the Dutchman. And unfortunately for him, he just hasn't really capitalized on the track there. So all of that aggression and all of that drive to win races hasn't actually capitalized, because it's only been going to the likes of Lamb and Jacobs, the sole winners of this F3 Championship. So he needs just to try and find something in him and within himself to try and show those two competitors up front to say, hey, I'm here to challenge you guys. You guys might be able to take victories, but it's my turn to shine. It's my turn to shine. It's my time to shine in these next, at least for the last 5 rounds of this championship.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be good if we can get him a little bit further up there. But he's doing well. All of these boys are doing well. I think it'd be a bit better if we could also have a bit bigger grid. But I know people don't really kind of favour these Red Bull Junior cars. They're not for everyone. But looks like Robbo here as well is closed down to the back of Liam. After Liam's done a 2:07.2, Robbo's fastest lap's 2:04.9. So Robbo's jumped into 2:04. He's done a very quick lap there. He's got that down to 2.8 seconds. So yeah, he's doing well. But yeah, I think Liam's got this one set in the bag at the moment. Looks like the podium.
So I did say that as you were
cutting over to Robinson, on the secondary cameras, we saw Lamb actually run wide into turn 1 and turn 2. So the gap was over 6 seconds. He lost 2.3 as he goes through sector 1. So lost just over 2 seconds to Jacobs. But, you know, he showed such class in putting in those fastest laps, 2:03.8, and then he said another 2:03.8, that he had a huge buffer over Jacobs to, even though he lost time, he still keeps the lead. So it just shows the consistency that this man has got. But yeah, losing a lot of time in those first couple of sectors did Lamb, which is giving Jacobs a little bit more, trying to give him a little bit more prep, give him a little bit more edge to say, like, I've got to get back. As we see, Jacobs has now made a mistake as well on the hairpin. So both drivers are making mistakes on lap 12 or 17. So what's going on here? It's so interesting. HBR makes a mistake, Jacobs makes a mistake, and as battle resumes, it's back over to 6 seconds now. So while we thought Jacobs was closing, unfortunately he makes a mistake.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was I think he just ran a little bit too deep there. Going into the venti hairpin, and he ran into the sand and lost a lot of time there to Lamb on the run there. But looks like everyone's kind of set here, but Robbo's got that down to 2.1 seconds to Liam, so I think that may be a bit of a late lap attack for Robbo, as he sets personal best third sector. So yeah, doing a solid job there at the moment for Robbo, trying to get back up the field. Here obviously we had that Rothman DNF as well, so unfortunate for Rothman, but hopefully we can get him back for next round.
Yeah, absolutely, and as we can see there, the sun has really poked through amongst the Suzuka circuit, so it's full sunny conditions now, just like we saw in the real world Formula 1. It was predicted to be raining for the main event in the Formula 1 calendar, as they were running at Suzuka circuit earlier this afternoon. So it was forecasted to rain, and unfortunately they did not get any spots of rain. They made a couple of drizzles in free practice too, but that was really it, to be honest. So nothing really special. I think they all knew that it wasn't going to be raining over the weekend, neither nor Saturday or Sunday. So it was all going to be dry conditions, setting up those cars for the dry cars. And as we might see in the Formula Track Stars later on at 8 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time, we might be able to see, you know, it's all about adjusting that rear wing and front wing ride, and it's all about just trying to play your cards, you know, whether you set yourself up for a high downforce car, really just trying to, you know, work with wet weather conditions and really maybe potentially build yourself a high downforce car and make, if the rain stays, or if the rain is like what we're seeing here in Formula 3, it might just be a bit of spitting of rain and then straight to dry conditions. So it's all about how the drivers set their cars up to try and get that mix of balance between wet weather and dry running.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be pretty interesting for our race too. You know, it's long race as well, so it's going to be a interesting, you know, pit sequences, and you know, with it being wet, we don't have any mandatory tyre now, so you know, we will see people run a medium after the rain goes, if the rain goes, or you know, or Lamb gets really squirrely there on the exit of the on the run down to the control line there. He was pretty far up on his best lap time, so he lost it coming out of the Casio Triangle. But what I can see here, Robbo's really on the back here of Liam, coming on the run down through 180R into Spoon. So this might be a bit of a late attack, as I said, so lap 13 to 17.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we can see here, the fastest lap has actually been set again by HBR. It's just lowering that gap, 2:03.8. But if you can see his fastest lap there, he's set 3 out of the last 4 laps have been set in the 2:03.8. So it just shows the pace and the consistency that this man has got. And Bendit right behind there. It's not too far behind there, 2:03.824. So really matching the Malaysian around Suzuka circuit. Obviously these two really like this circuit a lot, and that's why they're just demonstrating their pace amongst here. So, and unfortunately for Jacobs, not really able to capitalize. That last lap was a 2:04.5. So really losing out to HBR amongst this circuit, but that gap between himself and Bennett has closed down. So what was, I think, was about 17 seconds, 18 seconds a few laps ago, is now just dropping down to about 11.5 seconds. So he's losing time to Bendit, but I don't think it's going to be enough for Bendit to really close up on Jacobs in these last 3.5 laps of this race.
Yeah, that second driver there into the 203, so doing a very good job there for Bendit. Must have had a really good lap. So, but yeah, I think Jacobs is a little bit too far out of reach there for Bendit to catch him with what would be 3.5-ish laps to go. So, yeah, doing a good job there for Bendit. Good recovery after Autopolis didn't have the best runs there. As I said, got his penalty and dropped him down the grid. So, yeah, he's done a good job here after the wet weather's gone and running on the dries now. So question is what would have been if the race was completely dry, But that's the question we always ask. But we can't fight with the weather, and the weather is what it is. So yeah, it's good fun.
Absolutely, just kind of mirroring the Formula One calendar. So predicted wet weather turns out to be dry, but as we can see here, Bendit again just trying to drop that lap time 2:03.7 with HBR setting another fastest lap of 2:03.4, absolutely on fire. And Jacobs set a 2:05.4 versus Bendit's 2:03.7. So just under 3 laps to go. If I was Jacobs, I would be worried a little bit because you don't want to make any more mistakes. Thankfully for him, there are no more wet patches amongst the on this track now. So everywhere you look, it is bone dry. So you can run the racing line, you can run the normal line, and you can probably give yourself a little bit more confidence through these corners compared to when these guys were on the intermediates, then transitioning from intermediate to soft tires. So a little bit more, trying to find a little bit more confidence in himself to try and run that normal racing line rather than running the alternate line. The battle pack for 5th place is still raging on between Liam and Robinson. It's actually closed down, and Liam's actually run wide into turn 1, but gets a switch back on Robbo, so gets back P5 after losing it momentarily. Gets ahead of Robinson, so very, very nice move there. Very great racing there amongst Liam and Robinson, but looks like it's the only battle pack that we are seeing here for the battle for P5. Everyone's very well spread out between the top 4, but Liam and Robbo are going to give us something to watch here and to commentate on for the rest of this race, because my goodness, these guys are duking it out, and I can't wait to see how this one unfolds, Ryan.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty spicy one, hopefully, fingers crossed. But it's two and a bit laps to go, and it's hopefully going to create some interesting racing for the end here, as the grid's really spread out. So this is the closest battle we've got going on. So we'll keep an eye on this one till near the end of the race. But yeah, Liam unfortunately hasn't cracked. He's only cracked 2 2:05s there, where Robbo's been consistently in the 5s, did dip into the 2:04, so he's used that lap time to his advantage and really closed that gap there. But the dirty air here coming into Spoon will go into work for Robbo, because it is a bit of a headwind, so close that gap there, as you can see. But then you get a tailwind coming out of Spoon onto the back straight, so sitting in that slipstream, he does have a massive run here, Robbo, so that's... Just keep on.
That was Liam. Liam looks like he's going defensive. He has gone defensive, so Robbo's going to try around the outside. Surely not. He's not at that moment of time, but he swips around the outside and runs it a little bit wide through 130R. They both ran wide as he gains a little bit of advantage there, but he's going to be struggling to pull the car up, but he has pulled it up, so what a move there by Robinson, having to take over onto the AstroTurf between Robinson and Liam, but Robbo takes P5 away from Liam. What a spectacular move that was by Robbo. I think that might be one of our favourite moves of the race so far, Ryan, because that was ballsy by Robbo.
Yeah, that definitely was there. That was a massive move around the outside. He did run wide, but so did Liam. So Liam got sucked out there as well, but he's made that move stick, and unfortunately has taken that position there off Liam through 130R. On the run into the Casio Triangle, but Robinson's just got in front here and thought, that's position's mine, I'm just going to run away with it now. He's 3 turns up on his time, so he's sitting for a middle 2:04. So in saying that, we have Lamb just about to finish lap 16 of 17 here, and lap 15 he did a 2:02.776, so he's really flying in that Red Bull Junior there.
Yeah, as I'm looking at this battle pack for P6 here, we can see Liam is not letting Robbo go. He's fuming. We could hear over the team radio. He's fuming at his team boss, at his chief engineer to say for Robbo to give that position back because he gained an advantage as he ran wide on that final through 130R. So he's livid over the team radio, is Liam. So he's going to try very hard to try and get back on Robbo until that might be investigated by the stewards later on at the conclusion of this race. We'll see. But Liam is still holding on to Robbo, onto the rear wing of Robbo's car 20 Red Bull Juniors. He drifts around around Spoon Curve, losing all that momentum and all that speed, and he's not going to be able to close up on this time round. But yeah, some great racing there for the battle for P5. Robbo ahead of Liam as we cut back onto the final lap here between HBR and Jacobs. HBR setting some very good laps here, 2:02.7 as the fastest lap of this race. Absolutely smashing the field here, over 14 seconds between himself and Jacobs. Bendit has closed that gap down quite a fair bit here, so you have to give full credit to Bendit there, nearly gaining at least 10 seconds on Jacobs after making the move on his teammate Nathaniel, who's 19.4 behind his teammate in 4th place. But even though he's running in P4 and he got himself a podium in the sprint race, I think Nathaniel can be very happy with his performance here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. After an overall race for Liam, not Liam, sorry, for Nathaniel, he's doing really well. It's going to be his probably best performance so for that one. So yeah, I'd be pretty happy, and I'm happy that he's on how his performance is going. Same as Bendit, he's really bounced back, these two guys. So yeah, they definitely pat on the back for those guys. But nearly missed it, but we have Liam crossing the line here in 1st place at Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. Absolute domination there. Take your hat off, good sir.
Absolutely, a great performance there by Lamb. Takes a clean sweep yet again. 6 out of 8 victories going to HBR. As we always complain about Max Verstappen taking victories in the real world Formula 1, absolutely dominating the Formula 1 field. HBR is basically replicating that. He's 6 from 6 because he missed round 2 at Austria, so he's on 6 on a row for his form of wins. Jacobs takes out P2 Bendit after a great fight back after pitting very late. Was the last of the late pit stoppers from those intermediate to the dry tyres. Unfortunately for him, finishes down in P3. Charles Nathaniel, a very solid drive there for the man sitting in P4. And Robbo, a nice move there on Liam, but Liam's gonna try and see if he can close up on through Casio Triangle. Can he go for a late send on Robbo? He breaks deep. He can't pull the car up. He's trying, but unfortunately Robbo's going to take that P5 and take that convincingly ahead of Liam inside the top 6 drivers completing the race here in the feature race. And unfortunately for Rothman, the only DNF in this feature race here. But what a victory, what a clean sweep it has been for HBR, taking the victory and absolutely dominating the field tonight.
Yeah, doing a very good job there from Liam. Sorry, all these L's in the names. But that's it for us, ladies and gentlemen. We are very far behind time for main series, so it is we got to pack up pretty quickly here and jump into our cars and give us a good run. But yeah, that was a solid run there from the boys there. Bendit second fastest lap with a 2:03.4. Nearly a 2:02, so close there from him, but yeah, solid job there from the rest of the drivers.
Absolutely, so dominant win, dominant performance there by HBR. Can anybody stop him as the Formula 3 circus comes around next week on the 14th of April 2024? It is the community round, ladies and gentlemen. So the first time here at Trackstars Racing Series, it is all up to the drivers on what track they are voting for this round. So it will be seeing different circuits potentially in both Formula 3 and Formula 2 as we bring the circus for those championship rounds in both round 4 of the Trackstars Formula 2 Championship and round 5 of the Trackstars Formula 3 Championship. So we'll see which division has voted for what track next week out. But it has been a dominant victory by HBR in that feature race and throughout the whole event, mastering these wet conditions.
And what a race it has been here at Suzuka Circuit. But it's now on to the main event, Formula Track Stars. In the next 40 minutes, you'll be seeing a live broadcast very shortly here. But for now, for us at the Formula 3 circuit, for the Formula 3 Championship, on behalf of myself, Nick Patasso, and my co-commentator and the streamer,